The family of the late Kim Sae-ron is fighting back now with explosive new evidence, a lawsuit, and a press conference. So, yesterday, Korea time, there was a press conference held by, yes, Mr. Garo Sero himself, the family's lawyer, and a representative that fights for celebrities who are being abused. They met outside of a police station in Korea where they were filing their report related to this case. It's a bit complex. I had to unpeel a few of the onion layers and try to connect the dots because you might think at first that it doesn't really make sense or somewhat. How does suing a YouTuber get to Kim Soo-hyun, essentially? And I think I've connected the dots. We're going to go over why the family themselves is speaking out and clear up some misunderstandings about the family, and then also cast a critical eye about how they're doing this in their attack against Kim Soo-hyun. Let's clear up first some lingering and ongoing questions. Number one, the credibility of the family. If you had to do a litmus test, or if you're asking me for my litmus test, yes, I am so not wanting for these allegations against Kim Soo-hyun to be true. But looking at the family's evidence, it looks like at least the question of whether Kim Soo-hyun lied about the time period of their relationship, I think sides with the family. Also, what I've noticed from the family's position is that they're not really good at getting their story out there. And what I've noticed, especially in this whole game in the Korean media, the people who are wronged and are trying to tell the truth are really bad at actually telling their truth because they're usually shell-shocked into being a little bit tunnel vision. So what they think is just enough truth, that one thing is going to, basically answer all the questions. What a lot of the times the family's been saying, what more evidence or what more truth do you need? Whereas somebody who is trying to hide something is really good at crafting a very coherent thread of a story based on a more of a wisp of a possibility. And that's what I am seeing from Kim Soo-hyun's side, although we haven't heard much from his side, so we still have to, wait for more of his positions. But the family has not been good at bringing out their story, which in some ways, the way that they're doing it, I think seems more credible. We'll get into more specifics why, but if you just want like a litmus test about that. Also, the family, the criticisms that I've heard against the family about where were they when she was 15 years old and why didn't they stop it? The family claims they didn't know about this relationship when it started. Kim Sae-ron, as a child actress, is a bit in a different world when it comes to interactions with adults. So it's a little bit hard to first, immediately accuse. You're going to immediately accuse all of these older people in the industry interacting with her of doing, inappropriate things. You can't do that either. And so they said it was common for people who are generally older to be, that normally wouldn't be talking to like a 14, 15-year-old, or maybe when even she was younger, to be talking to her because they're working on projects together. And so the interaction with adults is a little bit more than the normal person and thereby can evade some red flags. Also, on the other hand, this is not to be critical of the family, but this is not a family that is strong in terms of being like the protectors that most of the time we hope or expect from parents. The mother herself had been struggling a lot with mental issues. Yes, you've probably heard of the accounts where the mother, when Kim Sae-ron was really young, attempted to take the entire family to a different dimension off a balcony, and that was stopped. So what I'm saying is that if the mother even had a physical handicap, we would probably give a little bit more grace to her about like not being able to always be there. But has struggled with mental issues. The father is still alive, but has been in and out. So this was not. Yes, parents should be protecting their kids, absolutely. But even the best parents, or even parents that you think are really good, can't always succeed. And we offer a lot of forgiveness and grace for parents who, can't parent perfectly, saying like, there's no perfect parent. These were parents who are already at a disadvantage and are probably still growing up themselves. If you want to believe in the criticisms against them about, how maybe they may have not been the most, advanced people, that's just life in that sense. Just to keep into understanding is that you can choose whether or not that you would give some sort of leeway or grace to a family that kind of isn't there. On the other hand, we do give a lot of understanding to parents and families that are not perfect and aren't there. The thing at the end of the day, though, is that Kim Sae-ron really had to face a lot of challenges from an early age on her own, but it wasn't as if the parents were never there. It wasn't as if the aunt was never there. They did say they found out about the Kim Soo-hyun relationship. Now, it seems like on one interview, the aunt said, like, when we got the postcard in 2019, that's when we really knew and we wanted to stop her. But then again, she also said in a different interview, also with, Garo's Sero, saying that when he was going to the military, like it seemed like to have a lot more contact than was good, and they wanted to stop it then. So they were, I would say, not as absent as a lot of people are criticizing them for. Were they successful at it? Did they try to make lemons out of lemonade? I am beginning to think that, yes, during the time they tried to stop it. You can't always stop a kid from doing what they want. And then again, trying to stop it, but then maybe acquiescing to this thing like, okay, well, if he says that he's going to marry her, maybe this will work out. He says that he's going to really take care of her in this new agency. Okay, well, and why go against such a powerful figure when it seems like things seem to be going well? When it does not go well, when it turns into a situation where the family is reeling. And yes, I do understand the sentiment of many of you have been saying, like, yeah, they're just looking for a scapegoat. This is sort of how they're trying to deal with their pain. This might be a little bit unfair to Kim Soo-hyun to bear the burden of all of this. I understand that. I understand that viewpoint, but I also do understand their feelings of being helpless in this situation and still wanting to feel like there is something that Kim Soo-hyun really stole from their daughter. If an older man, basically stole this from your daughter like this, how would you react? And after you've been told to do the kumbaya thing and, try to make lemonade out of lemons, and then you're still handed a huge lemon, and you only have your daughter's reputation or truth at the end of the day, just wanting to restore your daughter's truth, I do understand the sentiment of how Kim Sae-ron could have felt and how her family felt. And then, yes, Kim Sae-ron probably should, like, in a perfect world, had done this herself, done this while she was alive. But we did see situations where she did try, and immediately tsunami of like powerful forces just knocking her down and discouraging her from speaking out. And we'll go over some of the new information that came out. So another question is the legality, and the parents themselves are not hung up about the legality of a underage relationship, nor do they want to go to court about it, because they probably already know and see that there is nothing really that Kim Soo-hyun can be pinned on legally. If you look at the actual laws about dating or having relations, we're using the word dating as more of a euphemism to, what really goes on with two people behind closed doors. And so there's nothing legally that they can get him on that, because the laws were revised in 2020. Had this happened and started, and if we believe the claims from the parents that this started when she was 15 years old, and had that been the year 2020 and later, then definitely he could be in trouble with the law. So the law as it currently stands when it comes to age of consent in Korea, a lot of you have been asking, 2020 and till now, after the 2020 revision, age 19 is an adult. That has always been the case. So if you're under 19, you're always protected by the laws that protect minors. However, when it comes to age of consent, under 16 years old, as it is post 2020, under 16, whether it's consensual, whether it's not, it's always illegal. So even if you have the consent of someone under 16, that is completely illegal. 16 to 19 years old, it's allowed if it's consensual. Before 2020, age 19 is an adult, but instead of under 16 years old being the cut line of like, no matter what you say, it's punishable by the law. It was actually age 13. So the theory there is that, like, a kid doesn't know about consent, can't make that decision on their own. Do you put someone that young, behind the wheel of a car, thinking that they can, consent their way along the highway? And so it was under 13, so 13 to 19 was allowed if it was consensual, and that is the time period where Kim Sae-ron was 15 years old when she and the family claimed that this relationship with Kim Soo-hyun started. So it never has been about the legality, like trying to nab him on legality of age of consent. They want to just have Kim Soo-hyun acknowledge to the family that this was a long relationship, and therefore it was a serious relationship. It's not one of these like college age, summer romances, you had for a year and change. If you believe Kim Soo-hyun's side, that it was only like when she was 20 to 21-ish, and that sounds like it's just, casual. So like, you break up, get over it, it was not like a big thing. Now their family is trying to acknowledge that this was a serious relationship, 15 to 21. And for people who are young, they feel emotions a lot more. This is the codependency is a lot more, especially if you're in this type of situation. She was going through like grown, divorced housewife type of grown women problems when she was 15 to 21. Therefore, they're saying like the impact of everything is a lot more than if you were like in your 40s and 50s and 60s. And even then, it's extremely, extremely devastating where they're trying to say, like, this is a relationship that's like almost like a marriage, then some, fling. And thereby, it exerts a lot more on a person. And that's why it's just so painful. Now, what happened at the press conference? So this press conference in front of the police station where they filed a report for defamation against YouTuber Lee Jin-ho, who is one of the more popular Korean YouTubers who cover entertainment news. We've talked about him before and his coverage of entertainment news in the past. So the lawyer for the family was there, a representative of, he's also a lawyer, but a law professor that fights for celebrity rights was there. And he said that he also had experience or a time period taking care of Kim Sae-ron, so he knows her. And then, of course, Mr. Sero was there. The family couldn't be there. The mother is bedridden, they say, just in total shock and trauma. And then also the father is working day and night to provide for the family, so they weren't able to be there. Now, one big thing from this press conference was the announcement of additional evidence that was found in terms of letters from the law firm that represents Kim Soo-hyun showing additional intimidation of Kim Sae-ron. How did they find this? Well, Kim Sae-ron had put her stuff in storage before she decided to leave this world on February 16th. She put her stuff in storage because she was going to move on February 18th. And then her stuff stayed in storage while they were going through the funeral and all this kind of dealing with the pain and the trauma. And so early this week, they got her stuff out of storage and was looking through her stuff. And they found these additional letters that she never told her family about. And so it was additional scary letters from the lawyer that actually begin to poke holes at Kim Soo-hyun's claim that, they really didn't, want to have this repayment back, and they weren't intimidating Kim Sae-ron, that it was a misunderstanding. This scary lawyer letter did not look like a misunderstanding. So essentially what had happened was, remember, there was this letter that came demanding initial, immediate repayment, compressing the timeline of when she had to pay this money back to Kim Soo-hyun's agency. And she got that apparently in early March. Then on March 19th, Sae-ron sent a desperate text from her cousin's phone because she had been ghosted on her phone. Like there was no response, so when you block somebody and then, or you don't reply to their messages, no matter how many you send, like there's going to be no reply. So then, you try somebody else's phone and then send the message. So that was March 19th. That was when she was saying like, what's going on? I thought we had more time. This was not what we agreed on. Let's talk about this. And the direct translation of, please save me, I think that gets a little bit lost in translation. I think a lot of people have been responding saying like, please save me. Like, oh, she has no responsibility in this. The way that it really should translate with the meaning of it is have pity on me. I'm begging you. When you say, in Korean, please save my life, it's more of like, I'm putting myself in a very humble position. I am putting, I'm acknowledging that I am begging you. And so it's meant to signal that this is a very strong plea because I am lowering myself and begging you to have mercy on me. Well, that text also ghosted. And on March 24th, she's being very desperate for some reaction. And so she posted that photo of her cheek to cheek with Kim Soo-hyun, reminding them of their close relationship in the past. It was up for 3 minutes. And after she posted it, then she got from the lawyer's, statement and from the family's assertions that that she got contacted by Kim Soo-hyun's side saying, take it down, we'll work it out, don't release anything else. So she took it down. Looked like it worked. And it looked like she didn't have to release her, she was also going to follow up, I guess, this picture with that whole thing that she wrote down as a draft, doing the tell-all of the entire relationship. But right away on March 25th, she got this second scary letter, but it had even more threats on it. It still demanded the money, but it also told her never contact anyone from Gold Medalists, the agency, or their artists. And if you post any more SNS photos or messages, and if it creates damages to Kim Soo-hyun's new, Netflix series, Queen of Tears, then we're going to charge you for those penalties as well. So it's very hostile, very aggressive, very threatening, basically saying like, don't say anything. And so the family, the lawyers are saying that this is just not right. Now, how does YouTuber Lee Jin-ho fit into this situation? And why do I have some skepticism over how they're going about this, and how Mr. Garo is somewhat benefiting from this situation? The lawyers claim, so I'll tell you what Sero and also the lawyer's stance is on this. They think that Lee Jin-ho is like in this cartel of entertainment reporters that are called upon to smear artists, and that he is one of the people that was complained about by Kim Sae-ron and leading to her suffering about his smearing of her, especially during the period of when there was all those reports about like, oh, she's in a Delulu relationship with Kim Soo-hyun. The second part of the explanation was that the lawyers, now this is the tricky legal game, the lawyers said that in order to prove that Lee Jin-ho was lying, we got to unearth all this information about Kim Soo-hyun. Now that made me, a little bit skeptical, because they are saying that in order to be successful with this, Lee Jin-ho situation, we got to have the carte blanche to just, release all these pictures, release all these things until, Kim Soo-hyun admits that he had this long relationship, and thereby that is evidence for the Lee Jin-ho case. But it almost feels like they are sacrificing Lee Jin-ho in order to get to Kim Soo-hyun. Because remember, the original goal of the family, they say, is not money from anybody, especially not from Kim Soo-hyun. It's more of just an apology and acknowledgement from Kim Soo-hyun that he had this long relationship with their daughter. The actions that his agency made upon her were very pressuring. But wrapping up Lee Jin-ho, I'm still skeptical about it. Lee Jin-ho made an initial response to this filing against him. And he says that he is just reporting on all of the media reports that have already come out there. And every time like I've looked at his channel, I don't watch all of his stuff, and I didn't see the things on Kim Sae-ron. If he is just doing a wrap up of what is being reported on in the news, like he says, then it doesn't make sense to go after him. If he is part of the cartel that is breaking the news and creating the news originally, and if he is lying, and if he is creating a false narrative, and he is creating false facts and quotes, and like, if he's basically making stuff up, then that's a problem. What I have seen from him is that he just basically is reporting on what the news cycle is reporting. And therefore, I'll tell you how most of the sausage is made in the newsroom and in news agencies. A lot of it is basic stuff that everybody is covering. So a lot of the times you even just adapt. Sometimes you just paste what was from The Wire. So like from Associated Press, it'll say like, if you notice in your newspaper, like a story from like, Associated, why is it the same as from everybody else? It's to save people a lot of work, and so you license that story and it just gets repeated. Once it goes to broadcast, a lot of times you use written sources, and you're just you're essentially rehashing what has already been going on in the news, and then that leaves you some time to work on your breaking news, like your news that you actually create yourself or your exclusives. But with exclusives comes a lot of responsibility because you're the one that is the primary gatherer of that information. So the first one, the exclusive person, you get, yes, the benefits of having the exclusive or having first, to the news, but it comes with also responsibility because you are the one that everybody else in the news industry is relying on for it to be accurate because they're trusting that you verified all of your facts and sources and have put together a coherent and truthful story. That is also why we saw, as the people in this press conference said and clarified, why the family went to Sero. So the family, I think, was working with that law professor who is like this consultant, and he offers this service pro bono to celebrities who are feeling injustice and under fire. And he was trying to connect the family to media sources. Immediately, he even told the family, hey, even before he tried, saying like, in my 3-decade-long career in this, no mainstream media will touch this. But he still went to mainstream media sources and said, hey, the story, you want this story? And he said that they all said, give it to somebody else as an exclusive. After they cover it, we'll cover it. And that essentially happened, but not from a mainstream media person just willing to be the first one, out in front on the front lines, but they gave it to YouTuber Sero Research Institute. So once he reported it as his exclusive, then everybody else reported on it. And going back to the Lee Jin-ho situation, that's what I have seen from his channel, that once everybody else reports on it, he also reports on it and kind of makes sense out of what the reports are all compiling and doing it in a more audio, visual, YouTube format. However, if we do believe, but I didn't see any evidence that was compelling from the lawyers about how he was part of this cartel, how he was manufacturing news, whether he really is paid off. That is the difference. If Lee Jin-ho is making up lies fed to him by entertainment agencies and being part of that cartel for media plays, like that's a media play, then that is wrong. And that definitely does warrant, this action taken against him. But I'm wondering if he's being sacrificed in this way because it gives cover for the family, the lawyers, and Garo Sero to cover their butts on releasing all of this exclusive information and not be also attacked by Kim Soo-hyun's agency because they're saying, well, we're just releasing this because it's part of this lawsuit against Lee Jin-ho. So connecting the dots like that makes it, oh gosh, that's a very, very clever legal maneuver. And in my mind, at least, resolves the question of like, how do these two things connect? Beyond the fact that they say that the lawyers of Kim Sae-ron's parents say that, well, it was a little bit suspicious how fast Lee Jin-ho was about reporting on the news about the Instagram post last year. And they also said that, oh, well, Kim Sae-ron never reported where she worked in a cafe, but yet he knew right away. So isn't that inside sources? That to me is not as compelling because there was also a reporter who also did print a wrap up of DUI. And she said that she went on a radio show saying like she saw Kim Sae-ron just by chance working at a cafe during the time when a lot of media reports were criticizing Kim Sae-ron and accusing her of pretending to be poor so that she doesn't have to pay off her debt, that she's just doing a pretending to work at a cafe. And she says she actually saw in Shinsadong Kim Sae-ron working in a cafe, and that she went up to her and said like, okay, I didn't come here to cover you. I didn't know you were working here, but here's my card. Call me if you ever need anything. And, I support you. This reporter also said that, when she first heard the news, like she also believed it. I went back to that print store. I was like, how could this have been like so manufactured? Like, and everybody repeating, if you believe the, Kim Sae-ron side, a lie. And now this is when you have to question the original person that broke the story. Was your source real or was it a little bit fudged? Because that reporter, initially when you saw the news report, said that they quoted a Mega Coffee franchise manager who said that Kim Sae-ron never worked at any Mega Coffee. Now that I was like, so we would ask like, who is this franchise manager? Is this a franchise manager that has employment data of the entire Mega Coffee network? Or were they talking about like a person who just manages one franchise or just oversees some franchises? Like, how would they definitively be able to say that she never worked there? Or, was she paid under the table? Sometimes, the franchise owners might, do that, but may not want to admit that they do that. So based on that, now looking back at it now, looks like a weak point that then really becomes the responsibility of the person who wrote that article in the first place. Because in the entire news industry, from top to bottom to the most, well-known names reported on it. And, when you look at the source of that article saying like, okay, well, they did get a quote from a representative from Mega Coffee, and, it seems legitimate. A lot of this industry is based on trust in that, reporter. If you have the resources, you call them again yourself. You double, triple, quadruple fact check. But the nature of the news industry doesn't have time to always do every single, re-fact checking. Some other reporters work. So the reason why this is shady on both sides to me is that, again, the consultant and that law professor who helped the family contact media sources to get their story out said that, when he reported back to the family that, entertainment reporters they know that they've been dating, but they can't publish it. And they can't publish it until somebody like a Garo Sero or somebody is willing to take the first hit to report it first, and then everybody else can say, this is what Garo Sero published. And the fact that they're criticizing Lee Jin-ho for the same type of the news process makes it a little bit weird. And then also, this Garo Sero guy, I told you that, I try to pick through, you pick the bones out of the fish, okay? So you see what is valuable, and then you let go of the rest as long as it's, not up to a horrible standard. You're basically, I'm basically willing to say people aren't perfect. And so, yeah, but then this dude is criticizing everybody as if, and he's just now I'm are you trying to take down all of the other people who are your competitors? This is, just have a little bit more of, understanding here. He even criticized his own, in this press conference, he's yeah, there's all these trash entertainment reporters out here. I even worked with one of the co-founders of Garo Sero Research Institute. Yes, he was controversial, and I say was because he also ended his life about 2 years ago. And he broke a lot of stories, but he was the co-founder of this Mr. Garo Sero. And this Mr. Garo Sero was just well, I didn't know about him, but he's trash. But this, so, you're basically saying even you were fooled enough to start a company, with somebody. It's not really good to be throwing other colleagues under the bus like that. On the other hand, this Garo Sero guy, if you believe what he says, is that, he knows how the sausage is made, and that, he has the inside knowledge to really then, legitimately call other reporters trash and corrupt. So he's really going off of this is a corrupt system, which I understand the sentiment, but then I also question, how much of this is driven by just trying to knock out the competition. The lawyers also questioned Kim Soo-hyun's agency regarding that 700 million won. They're actually asserting or alleging that they didn't show any proof that they covered this so-called debt of Kim Sae-ron. Where are the receipts? They never showed to Kim Sae-ron that, okay, we paid this 700 million won as a penalty fee for a semi-canceled, basically they edited her down, semi-canceled contract. So the lawyer is asking for proof that the agency actually paid that money, and what they're trying to really then allege and make this accusation against Kim Soo-hyun's agency is that you're pressuring her for money that you didn't even pay out. So this is just really egregious. But he doesn't really have proof of that either. So this is when you got to take all sides with skepticism here. And again, some skepticism for the Garo Sero side during this press conference, even though I have said I appreciate how much work he is doing and the facts that he's bringing to the public, and being the one to be willing to take the first bullet on the front lines of this story. Totally respect and appreciate that part. On the other hand, why are you willing to take the first bullet? And I said that, he is mainly a political channel, and he has an audience that follows him along in his viewpoint. And this case somewhat also follows along in his battle against the liberal side of Korea. But the thing that I didn't like from the press conference that shows this, and that shows that, like, why are you going after Lee Jin-ho to get to Kim Soo-hyun, which is not even his main motive, is not to get to Kim Soo-hyun, it's to get to his law firm, which he says is really aligned with the Democratic Party power structure, and then really get towards, his mission of, taking down, Democratic Party politicians for what he says is in the name of anti-corruption. Because when they were asked about this situation with the law firm, they said, that's why we chose this lawyer for the family to face the monstrous law firm. And they asked, can you fight them? Yes, we will win. We chose Boo Ji-seok to face the monstrous LKB. Now that's odd, because this case that they were filing and had a press conference was against Lee Jin-ho. It wasn't against Kim Soo-hyun. So that's why I think they're showing their cards. If Lee Jin-ho also has the same law firm, then that would make sense when you're saying we're going to fight this law firm that represents Kim Soo-hyun. But your case is against Lee Jin-ho. So why are you choosing a lawyer to attack Lee Jin-ho, and you're saying, yeah, we're going to beat LKB, but LKB is over here? I think Lee Jin-ho does a lot of his own self-representation in these cases. And so that shows to me that they're really trying to target over there. They did say that they may be preparing a case against Kim Soo-hyun as well, but that they're going to, reveal the details later. Basically, they probably haven't worked it out. And so that, again, makes it seem like you got to know the motives of somebody, like why they're out here fighting and then for what, to make it a little bit clearer as to, who is being used as pawns in this game. So overall, the representative said that Kim Soo-hyun turned Kim Sae-ron into a liar, into a delusional person, and that they were working with Lee Jin-ho to do this. Hasn't been proved. Don't know if they can. But that's what they were saying. And that they're going to release more photos, more evidence, and they've been holding back because of the wishes of the family. So the family truly is, I think, trying to say, look, we think this is enough. This is like a earth-shattering piece of evidence, but still you're not apologizing. Okay, then we'll release more. But they don't want to release the full stuff. And apparently there's some naked pictures, and we saw one that was suggestive. And that's what I also didn't like about the Garo Sero's way of presenting that photo of him doing the dishes. They put the Garo Sero logo on his underside and made it look like he had nothing else under there. But netizens said that, underneath, it's essentially, you can tell by the shadows, and then maybe they even used some technology that he was using, that he was wearing boxer shorts. The Garo Sero Research Institute did release some other photo evidence that really does focus on the clothing to match the timelines, to show that the dating had started earlier. That looks pretty legitimate, and especially with the celebrities, they get the clothing first as part of a sponsorship deal, and they're saying a lot of these clothes were the sponsorships, so it's even before they officially come out into the market, which thereby makes the claims that they started dating younger as more credible. And then also Chinese netizens had posted old photos of finding Kim Sae-ron and Kim Soo-hyun in the hallway, of one of their places. So the sad part of this thing that I found was that they said that they had to do a lot of home dates. Their dating had to be hidden. So they would only meet at either one of their houses. And, then of course what goes on, just two people just in the house. And then they released new video showing them watching TV together. Like, Kim Soo-hyun is filming Kim Sae-ron watching. And then I think she was like trying to, maybe they were doing some exercise or some kind of thing on the TV and she was trying to do it as well. And so they're saying that, this was like the way that they operated. And it's just like really sad situation. We'll go into more of like the other things that were uncovered, with the Sero research guys broadcast. But I wanted to take a little bit of a break from that because there's a lot of mud to filter out of that water. So in any event, though, more stuff is coming out until we get like a definitive response again from Kim Soo-hyun's side to respond to all of these allegations. People are also saying, let's look for the diary. Kim Sae-ron kept a little pink diary that has, all the information. The family is probably also uncovering more and more from her stuff, and the Sero man says that he's worried about the family because the family is just continually sending him more evidence, and he's going to only release the stuff that the family thinks is appropriate, and the family is saying we got a lot that's inappropriate, but we don't want to create total destructive damage against Kim Soo-hyun. Although people who are supporting Kim Soo-hyun saying you're doing it anyways, but I do believe that the family is working with restraint. That's why I feel like their claims are credible. They are offering restraint because if this was New Jeans' mom, all of it would have come out and then some. And I do think they're offering restraint. How they're going about it, because they're basically have now handed over the process of this whole thing to people with another agenda also wrapped up in it to make it worth their while as well. I don't fully agree with how they're going about this. But again, like picking the bones from the fish, that's what we got to do, because the bigger thing here is that, this is an important fish to fry, and it has a lot of implications for Korean society, the future of Korean entertainment, how we go about these things, and then, how we really respond and listen to people who are trying to tell their story and not have to then only pay attention to the story once they're gone. All right, guys, what do you think? Put your comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.